Howdy, and welcome aboard to episode 3 of the Tiki Chatter podcast. You've made it to the third episode. Wow. In today's episode, myself and Jack give our opinion on how each and every side in the Premier League season have performed, whether they've met expectation, fell short, or massively failed. So, come along, listen for the ride, and if we talk about your team, let us know what you think. Are we massively wrong? Are we uh, on point? Or, let us know. We'd like to hear your opinion as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the Tiki Chatter podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Tiki Chatter podcast. Hello, my name's Andy and I'm joined with Jack.
Hello, I'm here to provide your encyclopedic knowledge of lower league football.
Yeah, Jack is actually a computer when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, disconnected to the point of autism, is what some people have said.
Trains on football, that's Jack's team.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 3 of this whatever you want to call it, a podcast is what most people call it. Today's episode, discussion, yeah. In today's episode, we are going to be doing a 1920 football review, starting at the Premier League, giving our opinions, thoughts on how each club have done.
It's all over now. It's all over. Football's finished. Finito.
What's it called? The Big Fat Quiz of the Year, except it's not a quiz, but it will be big and fat, and it's a review. We're going to go to the Championship, League 1, and then League 2. A bit more in depth on the Premier League, because obviously that's where Brighton are, and then we'll brush along on the lower leagues, where I admittedly know very little about, but like we said, I'll be quizzing Jack on how Oldham have done with Chris O'Grady. Is he even there anymore? Yes. Am I going to prove
No, he hasn't been there for a season, but
there we go. I've proved my point. So, should we kick off with the important one, Brighton and Hove Albion?
Top to bottom or bottom to top? Oh, I thought you meant by the Premier League. Never mind.
You know what? Yeah, to keep things, keep our OCD in check. Top or bottom, Jack? You pick.
I think we should start at the top because so many people have reviewed the top clubs.
Yeah, we're not Drake. We're not starting at the bottom.
We're starting at the top and ended up at the bottom.
Yeah.
A bit like The Darkness. They did a bit like that. Good first album. Now no one's heard of them.
Just doing weddings for family and friends.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Yeah. I mean, well, what more is there to say, really?
Can you pick them apart? Not really.
No.
Different teams since Virgil van Dijk come in. Here's a question: would they have won the league without him there?
No, I don't think they are, because I think he's the best player in the league. Having watched him against us twice this season, and as well, obviously, as a neutral in many games, and he is fantastic. He's just a complete rocket in defence. I'd say since a restart, he hasn't impressed me as much. We'll say that.
It's the age-old thing of how much does each game mean. After reset, the league was won for them, pretty much. But
so I think he went off the gas there a bit. But yeah, he's by far and away, he's my player of the season.
Ahead of De Bruyne.
Ahead of De Bruyne, I'd say, because I just don't think defenders quite get the credit they deserve. Because I think for quite a few years, Liverpool under Klopp the first few years, they're very leaky in defence, and they were making mistakes all over the place. And just looking at the league table here, they've conceded the least amount of goals in the league this season. So something's changed there.
I mean, not just Klopp's era; they haven't been sound in defence for about 10-15 years, in my opinion.
10-15 years, exactly.
And, the signing of Van Dijk has just breathed a huge air of confidence about the whole side, not just the
Yeah.
defence. Like the attackers know they can grind out a 1-0 win. If they get a goal, then the defence will do the rest. Yeah, I
It's
think.
not the case of a last time they did well. You think that Rodgers season and
Mm,
even some seasons under Klopp. I particularly remember a 5-4 victory
against City.
against no, the 5-4 against Norwich, I think it was, in one of Norwich's many up and down seasons. Um, so I think, yeah, they've definitely before this season been will you score two, we'll score three, and
Yeah,
sometimes they score two, and we'll only score one. So I think that's what's been the difference this season, the
yeah. I think
defence.
when you got a leader like that, you can have a not so good centre back next to him, and he'll
Yeah,
get extra 10% out of him and
exactly.
shore things up.
Because Gomez, he's a good defender, young defender. I still don't think he's really. People are talking about him being England's best centre back, and I think that's still a title
Not
for a couple of
quite.
other players. But I think with Van Dijk alongside him, he does fantastically.
Mm,
And
yeah.
there's not a lot more you can say about Liverpool that hasn't been said, other than through gritted teeth. I
Mm.
do have to say they have been far and away the best team,
Oh,
and
100%. I
they've
mean,
blitzed everybody in their path.
yeah, they're
Um,
just so controlling of the game.
yeah,
They dictate the tempo. I mean, when they played against Brighton, they forced Brighton into the part of the pitch where they wanted them to be and played
yeah.
around them. So yeah,
Yeah, those first two goals are just the sort of quality they can show because I think the first goal definitely was just a poor mistake, but the second one, Henderson with a great strike, and it's just sort of
mm,
the quick counter-attacking football that
they
they play,
punish them.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
So
it on Liverpool, really. Just they're really good.
yeah, our top analysis is they have been good, very good.
So good that they're the best, and so good they've won the league. So,
Yeah, 99 points didn't quite get to the 100, which
no,
would have been nice. But on to Man City, who did get 100 points. No, hundred
yes.
goals.
Well, I think one thing saying Liverpool is obviously there's the debate of whether they are the best ever Premier League team.
For
I
me,
think
no.
no, also no. I would say potentially some of the mid 2000s Man United teams,
Yeah,
ones with Ronaldo and Rooney. I was a
Tevez.
massive fan of that Chelsea team under Ancelotti that scored 100 goals and won the league, winning 8-0 almost every single game. It seemed
Mm,
like. So I don't think they're quite the best team of all time, but they're good.
yeah, Arsenal, of course, the Invincibles.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, a much
There's
stronger
been
team.
some phenomenal teams. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I don't think they're quite at that level yet. But
and the fact that they've just spent 50 million on. Oh
mm,
wait, we're talking about Liverpool here.
yeah.
I was talking. Yeah.
Oh,
No, yeah. I completely moved on to City in my
City.
head, but
Yeah,
still talking about Liverpool with my mouth.
yeah.
Yeah, no, they've. Yeah, I was going to
What?
make the argument that City have spent 40, 50 million in every position, but
Yeah,
Liverpool haven't as such. They've
no.
been good with their signings.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, moving on to City this season, uh,
Underachieving?
I think they are underachieving really, but the form they showed towards the end was relentless.
Mm. It's like
They,
when once the pressure lifted,
yeah,
oh,
they were,
thinking
they were
they're
just on
second
fire.
best. Once
I mean,
it's
it was
sort of.
like watching cold-blooded murder when
Mm,
they beat 5-0. And then on the last day against Norwich, it seemed that every single player in that team wanted one for the road
mm,
for the off season. So yeah, they're a fantastic side, and they are probably favourites for the title next year.
Not
A
only
couple of
that, they were. Each one of their players was playing for a spot in their Champions League
yeah,
game against Real Madrid, so although the league was won, they individually they still wanted to play well.
and I think what they failed on this season as well, looking at the table briefly here, is that they've lost 9 games. So if if they stamp out those stupid losses where they're
Mm,
just sort of losing the odd game and games like the Norwich 3-2 stick out in
mm,
particular, then they can easily win the league this
yeah,
season, next season, and push Liverpool.
I think if
Um,
we they've had some defensive problems this year, and that
Yeah,
also coincides with the Van Dijk point. If they had Van Dijk, I'm sure they would have won the league this year.
definitely. And I think as well, Laporte getting injured early doors
Yeah,
against Brighton back in August, that definitely
yeah,
was a
they've been
problem.
unlucky for a team that's we've got about 550 million centre
Yeah,
backs.
I know they're not exactly.
Pretty
It's not exactly
funny.
full, but
I can't
Laporte
feel
is
sorry
their
for
most.
them.
John Stones, I don't think is particularly competent, no matter what his
Mm.
price tag is, and
Well, he's out of
Laporte
favour now,
definitely.
isn't he?
So a very good side who I think will win the league next season, but we'll just have to wait and see on that point.
No David Silva next year. Is that going to be
No,
a problem?
well for me, I think I was talking about this with some friends that he's probably the best foreigner to play in the Premier League. I'm struggling to think of anybody better because he is just
Dennis
fantastic.
Bergkamp.
Well, you would say that one, wouldn't you? Matty Ryan, no.
There's been some
No,
great foreigners though.
but I think mainly
Hazard.
from, yeah, Hazard. I think as well for my generation, particularly.
He's definitely up there
Yeah.
though.
Oh yeah.
Absolute magician.
Yeah.
Nutmeg a mermaid.
Even this season, in his final season, he's been fantastic.
I almost think he's gone a bit too early. I mean,
Yeah,
whether
I
it was
think he has.
a personal reason rather than feeling like he couldn't do it, then
I expect he'll go back to Spain.
yeah, wanting a new challenge or
Yeah.
home life or whatever, definitely could have carried on. But if we go from Man City to Man United, 102 goals scored for Man City, Man United 66, and that's the sort of numbers that carry through to the rest of the league. That is some leap. 40 goal difference. What's your thoughts been on Man United? They've managed to scrape third last minute. What do you think they've done this year?
I think they've done all right. I think Man United fans, I know some friends of mine, it's very mixed. Some people are Ollie out. But what else can they do? I think since they've got rid of Ferguson, they've tried every single type of manager possible. Because they've tried, the first one obviously in was Moyes, who at the time was an up and coming manager, and that's tainted his career forever now. To be quite honest,
I mean, the person following Ferguson was never gonna do.
No, definitely.
That was a cursed job, if you ask me.
Yeah,
same as Arsenal.
Yeah.
Look at what happened to Unai Emery. He went from winning Europa League 5 times in a row or whatever to becoming the biggest meme on all of the internet.
But then I think, and then after that they had Van Gaal, who I did quite like. I thought he was a good manager. And I think they'll probably look back on him saying he was probably slightly harshly done by. I think he was. And then you had Mourinho, of course, who's the big money sort of can. So they've tried every avenue. They've tried one with good at youth. They've tried managers who have got a good pedigree, and then you tried Mourinho, sort of this big money, sort of tactical genius. So I think this avenue with Ollie, what else can they do? And I'm glad they kept him. And
I think he needs time. You look at Ferguson. After 3 years, he didn't win anything, and he was labelled biggest flop. But to Ollie's credit, since they come back from the restart, they've been absolutely phenomenal. That's coincided with Pogba returning from injury, and
he's a massive part of that side. I think Fernandes has looked brilliant. I think people talking about him being player of the year for only playing half the season. He's played well. He's not player of the year.
He's injected a bit of passion into the side, I think.
Yeah.
I think you look at his stats. Yeah, he's scored a lot of goals, but they've all been penalties mostly.
Yeah.
Assists, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, well, for me, yeah, he's been phenomenal, but he needs a full season.
Yeah,
take
definitely.
away his penalty.
I still think they've got their own defensive issues as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily down to Maguire. He comes in for a lot of stick, but I still think he's England's best centre back.
It's a price tag more than anything.
Yeah, it's a price tag. But I still don't think he's got anybody competent alongside him. I'm not a huge fan of Lindelof or Bailly. So it'd be interesting to see if they do bring in another centre back in the summer. They seem to be looking at wingers, and I would say that they're pretty much sorted in that position personally. But
I think they've got an aging set of wingers. If anything, you want someone that's gonna
I think
push.
they still cry out for a striker, because I know obviously all three of the front three played towards the end of this season. All played up front at some point, but none of them really stuck, because you had Greenwood, Rashford, Martial, and none of them are really out and out strikers. So yeah, that's an interesting one. See if they do bring in Sancho, where he will fit in, and I think more importantly, he will come out, because if I was Ollie, I would not get rid of Greenwood from the team, because
he's got to be given game time. He is so good.
So I think at the moment it's looking like Rashford to come out.
Well, if we're assuming they're playing a 4-2-3-1,
yeah,
I think,
of course, anything.
I think Martial's the weak link there.
Possibly. They did score a hat trick.
Yeah, but bless you. One hat trick isn't. Well, I still.
No,
if you weigh up the three players, I think if I was to drop one for Sancho, it would be Martial.
Yeah.
Just because he ain't the player he was hyped up to be when they first signed.
I think that's true.
But
I don't think he's a good player though. But
you might even change the formation. I mean,
4-4-2 at Man United again.
3 at the back would accommodate everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see.
It depends what route they go down with the signings. And then we're on to Chelsea. Lampard's first season in the Premier League as a manager.
Lost the FA Cup final yesterday.
Are you one word answer? Success or flop? Lampard.
Success.
Yep.
I would say.
Based on what?
Based on what? Top 4. I think that means so much more than a trophy. It's obviously been very inconsistent, and I know it sounds bizarre to say what he had to work with, but to be honest, at the beginning of the season when they sold Hazard, he was really their only world-class player at the time. And to be pushing into the top 4, you've got to have a few world-class players, or even be pushing for the title. And he's done well without really any. He's found some great players along the way. Abraham's obviously got a few goals. Still think he's a bit of a tapping merchant, but and a lot of the young players coming through. Pulisic has done really well. I was surprised he's only 21 when I heard it yesterday.
Yeah. He's really grown into the English game.
And I think it'll be interesting to see what he does with his new signings, because obviously he's got Werner, Ziyech. They're talking about Havertz. Are they going to start pursuing the money path again, or are they going to carry on with the youth players they've got? Because some of them have been fantastic this season.
The signings they've made have been phenomenal, but I think the point you made about them not having any world-class players, you look at their team, they got 2 World Cup winners, they got a centre mid that got to the World Cup final, you got a £75 million goalkeeper who's been shit, but for me, you look at their team and they should be pushing top 6 at least. I mean,
I think they'll have a bit of a clear out. I think obviously defensively they've been very poor, because actually they conceded the same amount of goals as Brighton.
Really?
Conceded, 54 they conceded, Chelsea, and Brighton also conceded 54.
That's very un-Chelsea.
They also conceded, more goals than most of the teams around them and below them. And the only time you can find the next team below them which has conceded more goals was Southampton. If you take away that 9-0 defeat, which is bizarrely the goal difference ended up with.
They really tightened it up after that. It's sort of like what you mentioned about Liverpool a few years back. You score 2, we'll score 3.
And I think the FA Cup final yesterday just summed up Chelsea's season.
Yeah.
Going ahead early, looking like they're fantastic, looking like one of the best teams, chance after chance, and then just not taking those chances. Arsenal get 2 goals, which were, I wouldn't say they were lucky and against a run of play, but they just sort of came out of nowhere.
I mean,
Uh,
watching the game, wanting Arsenal to win, first 15 minutes, I was shitting myself. I was like,
mm.
this game's going to be 3-0 before
And
half
then they just
time.
sort of went off the boil.
And then it's like Arsenal, I think they were nervous and they grew into the game, had a few chances, and Chelsea were suddenly like, right, we're in a game here, and are we going to stand up a fight or just lay down and let Arsenal win? And I think
They lay down and let Arsenal
yeah,
win.
whether it's, I don't know what it could be, whether it's the age, they had some young
They looked
players.
very tired yesterday, I thought. A lot of players went out with hamstring injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the referee was absolutely shocking.
Yeah, made some odd decisions.
Yeah, I think I can understand why the Chelsea fans are so
Mm.
upset about that, but still, the Aubameyang goal wasn't a refereeing. Well, the second one wasn't a refereeing error.
So
You're
they do have a
still,
lot to answer for, I think.
yeah,
I think a centre back will do them very well.
it's like
Someone
most
like who is done, but obviously he's playing anyway.
it's going to get a mention every episode.
Maybe even like a Tarkovsky from Burnley
Yeah,
or something like that.
you know, a
Just someone to shore
big
it up a
man.
bit. Mm.
Got a lot of.
Because Rudiger and Zuma are very similar and they are a little erratic, shall we say.
To quote Peter Crouch, they've got a lot of gazelles, but not a lot of buffaloes.
Yes, exactly.
Leicester, huge season for them.
Yeah, they promised so much early on. I'd say it's been a bit of a disappointment in the end. I think before the season this would be a success for them, but I think as the season went on, this has been a bit of a disappointment. They never really got going after the restart, and I think it really didn't help them.
I think the Leicester crowd are normally.
Yeah,
I've heard it's a good atmosphere.
Yeah, they are a good crowd. But I just don't think they really got going. Brendan Rodgers sort of did a Brendan Rodgers and just sort of imploded. But they've obviously, they've put the prominence, the sort of merits of Jamie Vardy.
Yeah. Well, Vardy said in his post-match interview last game of the season that before the season started, our goal was Europe. And despite looking like they're certainly going to get Champions League football, I think they've got to take Europa League. I think they'd get rolled over in the Champions League. So
definitely,
all in all, they're the sort of team that would probably do quite well in the Europa League.
Yeah, I mean, if they can, I think what the key for them is to just take this position and build upon it and make it.
Yeah.
Because they can.
It's a selling point as well.
And as well, definitely like
bigger players. They need a centre back like most teams. All
and
their centre backs are very old.
The next 10 years, you would definitely say, you could even look at Leicester saying, oh, they're one of the established top 6 teams. The way they're playing at the moment, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
To see.
I really like how Leicester operate as well.
Yeah. They make shrewd signings. They don't necessarily flash the cash, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
Look
when after Maguire their fans.
Yeah, I think when Maguire left, all the focus was on who they're going to buy to replace him, and all they needed to do was bring in Soyonk. I can't say his name.
I'm going to go for.
Yeah, that's the one. Soyonku. That's what I'm going to go for. And he was already at the club, so they've done some shrewd behind the scenes work.
You could almost say he's been as good as, if not better than Maguire this year. So
yeah, definitely, it's been fantastic
for a fraction of the price. So yeah, well done to Leicester. I'd say they've had a great season.
Yeah.
If you look at it from what
you
would have thought they would have achieved, rather than what they were achieving. And then we've got Tottenham. Weird
one for them. I think everybody can just say that.
Say no more. Yeah. Big transition for them this year. Obviously, Pochettino really established himself there.
Yeah. I think as well. I know I've spoken about this. I think Tottenham have gone stale from what they were. that season when they did manage to actually finish third in a two-horse race against Leicester and Arsenal.
I think this year in particular, it's a case of new stadium syndrome.
Yeah,
Where
but I do think as well, sort of, because Ali and Dyer, they were so highly rated by when they were in the England squad, and I think they just haven't really cracked on to sort of become the world-class players that people thought they would do. And I think a lot of that World Cup generation of 2 years ago, a lot of players in that squad haven't really cracked on to quite be the amazing players they said they would. Kane obviously speaks for himself because he's just a very good goal scorer.
Yeah, you can't question Kane. He's
can't question Kane.
Attitude and ability for me is one of the best in the Prem.
Top notch. But then, Ali, he hasn't really set the world alight. Dyer's become a bit of a joke in defence.
Don't think anyone really knows where to play Dyer. Is it centre back? No. Is it CDM?
I think even to a certain extent with Dele Alli as well, because he was an attacking, but his contributions are they're not up there.
I mean, he's been in and out of the side this year, so it's hard to say. But if you look at the 19-year-old Dele Alli that came in first season, banging in goals, you think, oh, hello, we've got a world-class...
I don't think he's even got any better.
No.
If anything,
well...
Probably borderline, but I think because he was upcoming, he looked probably better than he was.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he's improved, and I think that's got to be either something Mourinho has to get out of the team.
Well, in his first few games, he seemed like he got Dele Alli out of his little hole, but
rut.
Yeah. I think I don't know. Don't have all the information, but I feel like he picked up another niggle which set him back a bit, but
we'll just strange season for them, but I think they'll be satisfied to get into Europe again. So
I mean, I don't even know if they'll be spending this much this summer, because obviously they've got a stadium to pay off. If it's anything like the Arsenal that went into the Emirates, I know they had very little cash, and they've only really just started to get the cash given back to them.
Yeah, definitely.
So, let's hope they go on a downward spiral.
Yeah, well.
If we look at Wolves next, 7th.
Yeah, I was saying this yesterday to Arsenal friend I watched the FA Cup final with Naresh. Shout out Naresh.
Big up Naresh.
Yeah,
man.
I was saying it's a shame really that Arsenal took the European place away from Wolves.
Yeah.
And I think Wolves were deserving of a European place. Obviously, it's not how it falls, but in terms of the league, they definitely deserved it more than Arsenal. But you've got to crack on, and on that last day, they could have beaten Chelsea and finished in the top two. But then, they didn't. They lost to Chelsea. I think they've been a bit undeserved. I think they deserve so much more because they're such a good side throughout the season.
Yeah.
And they've only finished 3 points behind Leicester, and I probably put them on a par. They've looked great at times, Wolves, but there's just been some games where they've lost and they've looked a bit hopeless. Arsenal game when they played Arsenal, I watched that with you, Andy. Didn't look up to it at all.
No. Well, it's the same old thing where they're a great footballing side, but at times they it's like they're scared to shoot. They can't get the ball in back in net. I mean,
and I think they've got some fantastic players like Traore and Jimenez and Jota and Neto, but I don't know. I think they do need to be a lot more consistent. But it's only their second or third. Is it really only their second season?
I believe it is.
Was it third?
Second or third, but probably third.
It takes a long time to establish yourself, and I think they're well on their way to doing so.
I mean, they're still in the Europa League. So European football next year isn't dead and buried. They're the sort of team that honestly could go on and win the Europa League.
Yeah, I think, and they've shown it already in the group stages. Not group stage in the first couple of knockout rounds because they absolutely blitzed. They blitzed
opposition.
Yes, opposition.
believe they had
Uh,
Olympiacos, didn't they? Next round.
so this is only their second season in the Prem. So yeah,
I mean, fair play.
yeah,
Obviously, a bit of dodgy dealings going on behind the door with
yeah. It's very strange with the sort of whole
Chinese consortium.
Chinese consortium and George Mendes.
That's his name. I
Yeah,
was trying to think. I was thinking Rui.
yeah. There you go. With George Mendes. So yeah, it's a bit strange, but you know,
Fair play. It's working out
and
for them.
it'll be very interesting to see what happens with them, considering you know there's a lot of focus on China at the moment, and obviously the clubs have a lot of
Chinese money.
this Chinese investment, and especially you know sanctions already talking about coming in. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that.
The only worry with Wolves is it's sustainable, like you're saying.
Yeah.
This does
They've got-
sort of smell like a bit of a Leeds 20
Yeah.
years ago.
I mean, they've got a big fan base, so I don't think they should be too worried on that point of view of the money disappearing. But you know, they're not a Man United sized club, are they? So
yeah.
uh,
But no,
yeah,
good watch. But can they kick on?
they'll be bitterly disappointed they didn't get Europa.
And from an Arsenal point of view, I think it would have been fair enough. Like,
yeah,
I don't really think Arsenal deserved it. If you look at before Arteta come in, they definitely didn't deserve it. But
yeah, I think Arteta's shown
yeah.
signs. Yeah,
And Arteta Arsenal, I think, do deserve it.
Well, while we're on that, might as well move on to Arsenal.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
We'll let Andy talk here.
So obviously, if we're going for the full season, we've got the absolute clown that is Unai Emery. Somehow got a second season.
I thought he did all right in the first season, though.
Well, we didn't get an away win all season until.
That's very true.
Did we get an away win last year? If we did, it was 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wasn't a leader. Unai Emery, I think he lost the dressing room very quick. Fell out with Lucas Torreira, Xhaka, the famous Xhaka gate where he stormed off the pitch.
Yeah.
There's question marks whether he'd ever play for Arsenal again. That was this year, wasn't it? This season.
Yeah, that was this season. Yeah.
And when that sort of stuff's happening on the pitch, especially from an Arsenal point of view, they've always been sort of a well-respected club in terms of looking after their players. Like, we kept Jack Wilshere on our books for bloody 5 years too long, too many injuries. We had Danny Welbeck kept getting injured. We look after our players, and that comes down to partly to the manager. So the fact that there's public fallings out at the club was appalling, and he just had to go.
Especially with Ozil as well. I mean, no one really knows what's happening with Ozil, do we? But
he's a mystery, to be honest. I hope he goes.
For Arsenal and Ozil's sake.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes somewhere, he's easily getting 10, 15 assists a season. It's never been.
And Arsenal are saving $300,000 a week, aren't
exactly,
they? So.
$350. It's never been a question of ability for him. It's just his attitude stinks.
Attitude, yeah.
Yeah, and then we got Freddie Ljungberg for a few games. He didn't really make his mark, but don't really expect him to. Got pounced upon him. And then, of course, we got Arteta, and he's really, in my opinion, he's getting us back to our old ways, getting the basics right.
Yeah.
Which have been missing for a while.
Yeah, he's been a lot better.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's come in and there's been a big revolution, but he's aside from David Luiz against Man City, we've got a bit more structure and organisation. Which
I think from a neutral point of view, watching it, he's done well to sort of change the sort of. It was very. I think what Unai Emery might have struggled with a bit was the whole concept of away games in this country. When you take it from the Spanish league, and I just don't think he realised how much of a the physicality plays a role,
Yeah.
and the way he played football is very. There's not a huge amount of physicality in it. It's
No.
lots of passing around, and I think he just struggled with that. But then Arteta came in, and he's just very slowly sort of weaned the team
Mm.
onto it. And he's had some bad games, he's had some good games.
Yeah, I mean,
Arsenal still being a complete basket case of a club, going
yeah.
from beating Man City in the FA Cup semi-final to losing 1-0 to
Yeah.
one of the worst Aston Villa teams for years. So it's an interesting one, but
Yeah.
I think he needs a huge clear out in the summer.
Mm.
There's a lot of players who are just crap and shouldn't
Yeah.
really be in that side. Guendouzi's on his way out for
Yeah.
having a meltdown against Brighton.
Well, there's talks about a swap deal for Coutinho plus 9 million.
Hmm.
And if we can get that for Guendouzi, then thank you very much.
Yeah. Good player, but I've never been a fan of Guendouzi. I think he's very ill-disciplined.
Yeah.
They're not terrible, so yeah, that's
attitude problems.
Yeah, and I think Arsenal have done well to sort of salvage this with an FA Cup win. So the mandatory Arsenal FA Cup win every season.
Yeah.
But they've done well to salvage something out of it. David Luiz seems to have done like an amazing redemption arc.
Yeah.
After the City game, he'll never play for us again.
I didn't want him to play for us again.
And then he's come back and he was actually very, very solid in the FA Cup FA Cup final.
Yeah. So all in all, worst season ever in the last 30 years, and still come away with an FA Cup.
Yeah.
So it's a flop in the Prem, but it's been salvaged, like you said.
Yeah. Good redemption arc.
So next year should be exciting. Get the right players in.
Make sure you keep some players like Aubameyang.
Yep, that's essential.
I think it is going to be one of them that goes. So it's either going to be Aubameyang stays and Lacazette goes, or Lacazette goes. And
whether that's a financial reason or ability reason, I don't know. But yeah, I agree.
I think every Arsenal fan would probably rather keep Aubameyang.
Well, yeah, you would. Yeah. Excuse me. I mean, won us the FA Cup, really.
Yeah.
Then on to Sheffield United.
Yeah.
What a topsy-turvy season they had.
Yeah, I thought they were talking about Champions League at some point, and they were fifth for a long time. But I think a huge part of their game is their crowd and Bramall Lane. And after the restart, it just all went a bit Pete Tong, really.
Yeah, I think they lost first 4 games back, and they sort of like...
They even lost to Newcastle, who looked hopeless at the time. They even conceded to Joel Linton, which is a bloody hard task, that is.
That actually gets you a little award this season.
It does.
World's worst player to score against you.
So, they had a
bit shocked, like deer in headlights when football came back, no crowd.
Yeah, and as well, I think, they were maybe getting a little bit found out, because I think their tactics are quite simple to a degree. It's it's built on a solid base, and it is the basics done very, very well.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it's a bad way of playing, but it is very much the basics done very, very well. And towards the end, they stopped doing the basics very, very well, and they started doing the basics very, very poorly.
Yeah, their goals come from routine plays, everyone chipping in. It's not really one or two individuals that can maybe produce a bit of magic if the routine isn't working out.
Yeah.
So in that stance, I think they are quite one-dimensional.
Yeah, I think they'll struggle next season. That's one of my bold predictions for next year, that Sheffield United... Well, it doesn't seem to be bold because everybody agrees with me. But, I think they'll struggle next year.
When you say struggle, you reckon they'll be...
Relegation fighting. They'll be on the trying to get to 40 points slog.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think they'll struggle next year. I don't think they'll go down, but I think they'll struggle.
I think they're in dire need of signings.
Yeah,
If they don't sign anyone, I think they need a big striker. Look at some of the teams going down. I think they could maybe nab a couple of their players.
yeah.
But
But everybody in the league will be desperate for some of Bournemouth's,
yeah, I mean,
Watford's, and
if they
Norwich.
had got Europe, I think that would have been their best hope to getting big names in.
Big names, but then Europe does have an odd effect on these lower teams because you think when Burnley got into Europe, the first few games they were dire when they were still
Eric,
in Europe.
absolute Eric.
Eric and Swansea almost went down when they got Europe. Hull went down when they got Europe. So Europe is sometimes a bit of a poison chalice to these teams because it's such a high amount of fixtures they've got to get in. So yeah, maybe blessing in disguise for Sheffield United because I think they would have
Yeah,
struggled big time if they got in Europa League.
I think if you ask any of their fans, first season back in the Prem, ninth, they would probably bite your hand off
Mm.
before the season. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
overall success. I think they'll be praying that when football restarts, they'll have fans back.
Yeah, because it's such a huge
Yeah,
amount of what they do.
but yeah, good luck to them. I've been a huge fan of how Chris Wilder has conducted himself.
Yeah, very complimentary to everyone.
Yeah, I
So
think he's a good lad.
yeah, good lad. And I do like Sheffield United fans quite a lot because I really don't like Sheffield Wednesday. So
The Owls.
by far my favourite Sheffield club. And when I spoke to them when they came down to Brighton earlier in the season, they were very, very complimentary about the stadium and stuff, and about Brighton, and good luck to them. So I hope they do well.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
And Burnley. Burnley.
Another boring season from Burnley
Yeah, I
Football Club.
mean,
Finished, done. That's all we need to talk.
yeah.
No, they are the perennial boring club in this league. The sooner they go, the happier everyone will be. And I know that means they're going to take 6 points off.
Yeah, if people ask me if I like football, I say yeah, but if they ask me about Burnley can fuck off.
Quite. I mean, to be fair though, I think Dyche has done well, but there's already rumours that Dyche wants to leave because of lack of investment, and I don't blame him, to be honest.
Absolutely not.
Because he's done well to get them at this level so much on what is a shoestring budget for this league, and probably in terms of wages. And they've been pushing Europa League consistently for the last few seasons now. Always starts very poorly, but then always managed to do well towards the end. And I think
he's got a knack of not losing, not necessarily winning, but
no. And I think the proof is in the pudding, in that Nick Pope almost got the Golden Glove because they're just 1-0, just grinding out 1-0. There's nothing wrong with that as well. As much as I said, the most boring team in the Premier League.
They are fucking boring.
But they are boring to watch.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but you want to start going right. We're going to stop wanting to play defensive football now, and we do want to crack on. And I think Dyche would be happy to do that. But sorry,
I mean, I think
yeah, he'd be. Yeah,
I'm just looking down the league. If Dyche was to leave, I mean, realistically, I can think of 2 clubs that he would go to.
And who would invest with him at the wheel?
I mean, based on that, I can only name one, and that would be West Ham.
Well, I think if you look down the league there at clubs, I mean, obviously they probably wouldn't get rid of Ancelotti to replace him with Sean Dyche.
No.
I think.
But maybe
you look at the teams which finished below him. Even Newcastle, I think he'd do a better job with, because they invest more than Burnley. Palace, there's been rumours of him wanting to go there. I don't think they're going to be investing in any.
Palace. It was between Palace and West Ham. In my humble opinion.
But he could do a great job at those clubs. So it'd be interesting to see if he does move on.
Yeah.
Because I think Burnley just need to invest. They just need to do something, because
he's at risk of becoming another Eddie Howe. Getting the most out of a bad situation. And then it's the age-old question: you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. And for his
I think,
sake.
yeah, because I mean, I'm sure we'll get on to Bournemouth, but you don't want him to become like Eddie Howe, where
No, I
you
mean,
know he,
of course he's still going to be loved, but
yeah,
uh,
they just haven't really been good enough.
mm,
Bournemouth this year because it's just gone stale and he hasn't been able to change it. So I think that'll be interesting to watch next season, sort of where what path they take, um, and where they go for the rest of the season,
mm,
next season. So
yeah, I don't know what the owners are like, but if they've
yeah,
got
I think they're
money or
just quite
not.
shrewd. I don't think they're like mega rich, but I don't think they're
But
unstable.
he's done enough to deserve investment.
Yeah, definitely.
So that concludes the first half of the table, and
Yes.
we would like to move on to our favourite segment of
The
What
show.
shirt are you wearing, Jack? What
Well,
shirt are you wearing, Jack Albion?
yeah, I'm wearing Brighton's new shirt.
What?
It's mirrored, obviously, but it is an absolute
Stand up,
belter.
give us a full view.
Sure, my trousers are pulled up properly. Full view around there. Not
Shirt on the
very
back,
exciting.
name on the back.
Yeah, no name on the back because the squad numbers haven't been released
Will there
next
be
season.
a number, a little someone on the
If
back?
I can get Big Dan Burn on the back, no hesitation. Not any bait ones like Lallana or Veltman.
Oh,
I want big Dan Burn.
it's
Don't want
always
Burn. I want Big Dan Burn. No, I won't
six
do
foot
that. But
six, Dan Burn. 6'7".
I think it's 7. Thank you very much.
That kit is beautiful though.
Yeah, it's a lovely one. I've been so fed up with Nike kits
Yeah.
because we used to have Area, which had so many interesting designs through the years, and you get this one, which is just something completely different, not a template, as far as I know. It probably is a template, but anyway,
Hint of
it's different.
Gillingham
Yes, yeah,
template.
probably, yeah.
But no, I was looking up all the kits for next season for an upcoming video. Stay tuned. And I obviously Brighton released theirs quite late comparatively.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we're gonna get another season of this shit like we normally do. We normally get 2 years out of a kit. So the fact that it's a complete difference to
It's lovely.
I'm loving it, and the collar. Oof.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of collars.
Jack's gonna be wearing that up down 5 sides.
Oh, I'll be wearing that into the Ivy. Thank
collar.
you very much. Ivy, put the suit jacket on, like the collared shirt, isn't it?
So yeah, when we go into 1901, we can just wear that shirt rather.
Yeah, right. Well, it is collared, my good friend.
So, thank you for that shirt of the week.
Cracking open a 7-Up.
Oh, 7-Up, not on the bevs today.
No, I've got work tomorrow, so.
Oh, yeah, cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers to that.
Cheers to furlough. Anyway,
yeah.
on to Southampton.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go I think Hassan Huttle's manager of the season.
Oh!
Bang!
Oh,
in the Premier
Jack.
League. Not in the whole Football League, because the whole Football League's Gareth Ainsworth, but in the Premier League, it's Hassan Huttle, because to come back from a 9-0 defeat and finish this far up the table is unbelievable. Yeah. No other manager would have been able to survive that. And he was kept on. He made them a solid ground. And they finished like one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he really got a lot out of Danny Ings as well.
Yeah, huge amount out of him. Got a point at Man United later on in the season. Quite a few wins. Beat Man City, of course, who looked like they were on fire.
What a win that was.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Southampton have done fantastic to come back from where they were. Because, you know, at Christmas time, I was saying Southampton are going to go down.
Yeah, so, they were very much in the relegation battle first 10, 15 games.
And they struggled past us to beat us 2-0 at the Amex when we had 10 men as well.
Yeah.
So I think they've done very well to come back to where they are.
I think they've got a lot of work to do in the summer. I think.
Yeah.
If Højbjerg goes, which he most likely will, I think they need a centre mid at least. They need someone centre back, someone to go up top with Danny Ings, because Long's in a wheelchair at this point and doesn't
Yeah.
score.
Che Adams has done well though when he's
Yeah,
in the
he's
last
found
few
form.
games.
He broke his
Considering
rut.
he didn't score all season up until the goal against City, and now he's scored 3 or 4 since then. So
Yeah,
he
but
could come good, but I do think they need a more
yeah,
established.
well,
Shane Long's been in a wheel, like you say, he's in a wheelchair. He's been at that club for so long.
he's,
They got rid of Charlie Austin last season. He hadn't really been doing too much very exciting.
yeah, and I
Before
I really don't rate Obafemi.
No, he seems all right. He's very young though. He's still only 19, 20, so he could come
He's
good.
got
But
one of the worst first touches I've seen in a long time. So hopefully he
yeah.
works on that.
Hmm.
Good luck to him. Nothing personal, but sort your first touch out. Everton,
Everton, weird one
another
again.
weird one. This has been a very weird season for a lot of
Well,
teams.
I think it's been a weird season for football because I think I ended up watching some highlights on YouTube the other day. I think it was just of a Brighton game or something like that. And little did I realise, I completely forgot Marco Silva was actually their manager this season.
What? I
Exactly.
won't lie to you. Same.
Yeah, he was sort of. Oh yeah, he was their manager this season because obviously
Yeah.
Ancelotti came in after him
Yeah.
November time. So I think it probably contributes to that because it feels like such a long season.
Yeah.
Because
This
obviously
seems like a
the break.
lifetime ago that Emery was Arsenal manager, but
Yeah, but yeah, they weren't good under Silva. They lost to us at the Amex, I remember, and they seemed very naive. Got some great players in that side, but they're just never. They're another team who just don't perform.
inferiority complex.
Yeah, it's like they're used to being Everton. They know they're Everton. They know they're rubbish old Everton.
It's like they know they're not Liverpool, and they
Yeah,
constantly reminded.
and there's some great players in that side. Sigurdsson, I've always been a huge fan of for years.
Richarlison,
Richarlison looks fantastic.
Digne,
Yeah,
Bernard. I mean,
yeah,
Gomez is very good.
yeah.
They've
And
got
then
the personnel there. I think, yeah, this will be a big window for a lot of teams in the Prem. I think
yeah,
a lot of teams need to clear out. Everton being one of them.
yeah. Well, Leighton Baines has retired. He's a massive stalwart. Who
Yeah.
he was a great player though. So
Happy
I'm not.
retirement to Leighton Baines.
Yeah,
He's had a great career in the Premier League, so hats
yeah,
off
he
to him.
has. So he's obviously moved on, but it'd be interesting to see how much they do spend, whether they do go big again.
Yeah,
They've gone big
it is
every single
again.
window.
I'll reiterate again. You gotta wonder who's in charge of their signings. I mean,
You just need a shrewd negotiator.
yeah, I mean,
You think if you get the person from Burnley who's in charge of their transfers, they made some great signings
it's
and
even.
finished higher than them.
I'm even looking at the places where they're shopping. I mean, Iwobi for 30 million, Walcott 20 million. You're getting the dregs of all the other teams in the Premier League.
Yeah, of the top six, and if I just look at their squad list now, I've touched the wrong keyboard again.
I mean, yeah, they've made some good signings. I don't know how much they paid for Digne, but I don't recall it being much. I don't believe it even over 20 million.
I mean, if you look at some of their squad, you go down. I mean, Yannick Bolasie, they bought him way back for 25 million, and he never did anything at Everton. 29 appearances, 2 goals. It's not really good enough, those sort of things. And I don't know, there's just a lot of players in that team who
Keane,
just seem to
he
break.
got signed for 30 odd million. He's done fuck all.
Fabian Delph, another cast off. Pickford is just so inconsistent.
He's lost them a lot of points this year.
For me, he's not England's best now. Nick Pope is clearly.
I don't even think he's top 2. I think he's third choice at this stage.
Yeah, but the thing is, Pickford is better with his feet. But
I don't care if you're gonna let in 20-yard, 30-yard goals. Then I don't care how good you are with your feet. You're on the bench, mate. But
yeah, he's been poor, and I think some of their big money signings. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if they do, because they're already being very heavily linked with Wilfried Zaha.
Yeah, they were linked with him last year.
Yeah, so
they need to keep hold of Richarlison. I think he's been their only positive this year.
Yeah,
He's still very young, and
definitely.
I really like how he plays. He always, well, doesn't always. When he's up for it, he doesn't give defenders a second of rest.
No,
So, yeah, weird one. Needs
weird one.
stability, and I'm sure
Yeah,
Ancelotti will provide that
because he is a
after.
world-class manager.
Yeah,
There's no doubts about that.
inherited a unconfident squad, not a
Which has
great
some real
squad.
gems in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be an interesting one for them.
And then we got Newcastle,
um,
overachieved for me this year,
yeah,
which is
I
might be controversial statement, but
think they could struggle actually next season. That's another prediction of mine.
I think
Um,
Bruce has done a fantastic job.
yeah, he has. He
Uh,
has. But well, he
compared
also
to compared to what people said he would do, I think they laughed at him when he was appointed, and he's come up with some
and
great results.
he's actually got a better points total than Rafa last season.
Has he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'd back that.
I just pressed up wrong keyboarding. I've got two keyboards in front of me because one's for work, and I just keep on trying to type out on the other keyboard. So 2018-19 was the points total. They finished higher. They finished higher, but I don't know whether they got more points. Here we go. Here we go. I don't care about the English football team. This is Wikipedia, so I'm going to just change it to piss me off.
Here we go. I'll find it.
They had 45 points last season.
43.
44 points, so it's very close.
Well, yeah. If you look
they
at
haven't
it,
really, as the King Rafa was made out that he was. Steve Bruce has not done much worse, really.
No.
And
last few games, I think they've looked a lot more exciting.
Well, they have, but they have. Just looking at the form here, they have lost 4 of their last 5.
Well, that's awkward. Before
that, they were looking very good, especially what's his name?
It's the foot on the beach.
Saint Maximin, best middle of the season signing. That was best out of the January window. They've got an exciting squad.
He was signed in summer.
Was he?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's like he got signed in January because he only started playing well.
Did he really?
Yeah, because I remember he played against Arsenal, won the first few games, and I thought he looked very fiery.
Oh yeah, so did. He's only made 69 appearances, so that's a lot more than I imagined.
Saint Maximin.
He can't have made 69 appearances. I'm sorry, that's just stupid.
That's not true.
No, that isn't true.
That's probably last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it said he's made 26 appearances, not 69. I don't know where Wikipedia's plucked that one out.
That's your other tab, isn't it?
69. Yeah, exactly.
But lacked a striker this year. I mean,
yeah. Carroll just came on for his appearance every now and then.
AC9.
Oh God, he was shite at times. AC9, yeah, that is the best way to say it.
Gale's by far their best finisher, which isn't saying much in retrospect.
Joel Linton, 4th of the season.
Yeah.
I was talking to Scott actually the other day, and I didn't realise that he'd only actually scored two Premier League goals all season for 40 million. I thought he'd scored about 5 or 6, but no.
The fact that, I mean, I'm not the biggest Austrian football fan, but the fact that I haven't heard of this guy and he's been signed for 40 million does ring.
I'm not here to correct you, Andy, but I think he got signed from the Bundesliga.
Hoffenheim, yeah, no, you're right. He was on loan in Austria.
Yeah,
but
it's all right. We live and learn.
Yeah, but yeah, he made his name in Austria though. Let me have it.
Yeah, yes, he did.
Either way, I don't know if you'd heard of him before he got signed, but
no, I hadn't.
You know, for 40 million, you can get a lot of well-known players.
Yeah.
So.
It was
It was a chance and it didn't pay off. But
Didn't pay off at all.
they need well, they've had a torrid time last couple of games, which will
Mm.
coincide with their form. They
Yeah,
they had one centre back fit against Brighton, I think.
yeah. They had an interesting
Um,
centre back
so yeah,
combination.
not the most fortunate
No, but
thing,
I
but
think Bruce does deserve a well done for working under
yeah, I
the
mean,
circumstances.
he's taken some points against the big teams in this league, so
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. So I think fair
yeah,
play to him.
credit to him. Good good season for him, I'd say. Kick on from here, try and get top half next season.
Obviously, their takeover fell through in the last few days.
Mm, that's
Um,
worth a mention. Got a feel for the
but
Newcastle fans,
a
but
little bit, but I think on a moral standing point, it was the right thing to do because I think not to get political here, but to be supported by a rate and to be funded by a regime. I know Man City, obviously, they're not on great on the human rights scale, but Saudi Arabia has terrible human rights where. In terms of women's rights, in terms of gay rights, and for me personally, if I was a Brighton fan, I'd feel uncomfortable knowing that my club, especially
mm,
Brighton being the gay capital of the country, of having a country fund the regime of a country fund my club, who in their own country it's illegal to be gay, punishable by death, and it doesn't stand up right to me. I think we should get our we should make sure that we're not bringing in this sort of money with a
mm.
lot of human rights issues, and of course there are issues in the Yemen as well. But this isn't me against the Saudi Arabian state today. Uh, but yeah, I want Newcastle to get a takeover, but to have the Saudi Arabian one gone, I think it might even be a
I
blessing
mean,
in disguise.
some Newcastle fans might argue the Mike Ashley regime is a lot worse than.
They may, but
I'm kidding.
Mike Ashley, as far as I'm aware, in the Sports Direct warehouses have not made being gay punishable by
Hey,
death.
0 hour contracts are just as bad.
I agree, but
Uh,
but
Either
anyway,
way,
yes,
Newcastle fans deserve a lot worse. I can't say I'm surprised that it didn't get sold because it's
yeah.
just so Mike Ashley. But
And
wherever the
it was
money
so
comes
tainted
from,
with.
they deserve it. As
Yeah, I think American consortium, something like that.
mhm.
Although I say that, right, we won't get too political. But yeah, no, I think they just need, they need to get rid of Ashley. They've
Yeah,
got such a big potential with the club and fan base and everything. So hopefully they get their takeover, just as long as it's not from states which are a bit dodgy morally.
yeah. On that note, Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace. Now we're talking about the real
But before
scumbag.
we go on, this is looking like it's gonna be a
A long
episode
one.
on itself. So
Yeah.
tune in
Uh,
tomorrow for the championship.
Yes, that's fine. Oh, there's a player final tomorrow as well. Um,
Perfect.
yeah, perfect. Because we've just
Was it
realised how long
Tuesday?
it's been. Yeah, it's. Oh yeah, it's on Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll get it up
Perfect.
for Tuesday with our
Um,
predictions.
yes, exactly. Um,
Palace.
Palace. Right. So Palace. I think they started all right. They looked like they might get into Europe, and then they. I think this is the thing which I want to emphasize. They have bombed since the restart. Lost 8 games in a row. Um, they've just been so poor recently. They obviously beat Bournemouth. Thank you for that. But they've just been so poor, and I don't know what they can do really. Uh,
Well, sorry, I was just closing WhatsApp because it was giving
yeah,
notifications. Sorry, that was me if you're listening. Uh, yeah, such a weird team. Absolutely no depth, which
mm,
uh, would support the trajectory of their season because squad size for me is important to maintain form.
yeah,
Uh, Obviously, because players get tired, players get injured. Uh, Heavily reliant on Wilfred Zaha.
yeah,
Uh,
massively. Still, even though his goal contributions have been
mm,
not great this season.
But
I think they
that
just
just
rely.
reflects where they are in the season.
Yeah, I mean, his goal contributions have only been 4 goals and 3 assists all year, and he's
Mm.
still their key player. So I think
I
there's a
think
lot which needs to be fixed there.
I think the fact that that's the case, it means they've been massively found out. Keep
Yeah,
Zaha quiet, then you've won the game.
yeah. Um, I think just looking at
Benteke, pile of shit. Absolute
he isn't very
donkey.
good.
He's on donkey watch.
Aging, their squad is aging as well. You look at their back defenders. You've got Sacco, who's at least 32. Gary Cahill, who's pushing 35. Tompkins isn't a young man. Neither's Scott Dan. Um, Van Arnholt isn't exactly, a young upcoming player. Right back, can't think of their right back is.
Kelly. Or is it
Who?
Joe Ward?
Joel Ward, who's no spring chicken.
30. We
Um,
got Chekioti, 30. I mean, I'd say at least 8% of their squad are 30 or 30-ish.
well, I saw an interesting stat that not a single player has scored a goal for them this season who's aged 26 and younger.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Well, that says it all, doesn't it?
So, yeah, and you can just see by the amount of goals they've scored, they've got the worst goals tally outside of Norwich.
Yeah.
31 goals all season, 50 conceded.
Yeah. I mean,
But
they've
they've
got.
been poor.
The funny thing was that they've got that Suloff on loan. I don't know if he's actually gone now, but at one point, with a few games to go, he actually scored more goals himself for
I
Trabzonspor.
think he has scored more league goals. I think he scored 32. So,
Well, yeah. That says it all.
So I think they've got to do a big clear out in the summer, get rid of a lot of their aging players, invest as well. Because come on, they've been here longer than Burnley and they haven't invested. They're in danger of relegation next season if they do nothing. But I wonder if they do have money issues because, they're not investing any money into their squad. They sold Wan-Bissaka for 50 million in the summer.
Yeah.
Right back came in. They've obviously got Nathan Ferguson now, and they could have bought him in January, but they've waited till now so they can get him on a free transfer.
Nathan Ferguson, who's that?
It's from West Brom. Was their starting right back.
But look, it's not gonna. I mean, well, in that aspect, I'd say good business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you might look at it, oh, they can't afford him, but if it was my club, I'd say, yeah, wait the extra 6 months.
Yeah,
but
I would agree with that.
I don't know what their youth's like, but an aging squad is a problem, and it's not something that can be fixed in one transfer.
An aging manager as well.
Yeah.
Roy, who's oldest in the Premier League.
It's like a bloody...
A lot of rumours of Dyche and Howe flying around at the moment. Now he's gone from Bournemouth. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see if they do change things up or whether they stick with Roy. My gut feeling is they'll stick with Roy.
Well, I agree. I don't know what his health's like or whatever, but
he seems to want to keep on going.
Yeah, but he's done nothing to deserve not getting another year if he wants it. But they need some money. They need some youngsters.
Need investment.
Yeah. So, well, let's hope they don't, eh?
Yeah.
Which brings us on to. So then that brings us on to Brighton.
Yes.
Who
noticed the lighting change? I did just turn on my lights off camera.
We've got production value here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
exactly.
I'm in darkness. Ignore that for today.
Yeah.
Palace finishing above Brighton. However, how do you think Brighton have done as a complete neutral?
As a complete neutral,
no, joking.
Oh, no, I think I can do it.
No, I don't want you to.
No, I'm not going to.
Give me that passion.
Yeah, so I think we've done really well this season. It was clearly always going to be a season of transition, and once again, we shouldn't really be more ambitious. Despite me walking around Watford town centre the day we won 3-0 in the first game of the season, saying Graham Potter is going to take us to Europe, we shouldn't really be looking at an ambition
Oh,
anything
that
other than
seems
staying
so
up.
long ago as well.
Yeah, this season for me it was looking no better than staying up. And that was it. I didn't want to be higher than staying up. Well, I did. Of course, I'd love to be higher than staying up. I did not want to, but I just thought that's our ambition. Get to that point, then we talk.
I mean,
Um,
you you hope for the best, but
yeah.
pray.
And then, of course, the football style has just been a complete, revolution. It's so much nicer to watch than under Houghton, and that's not to slag off Houghton at all. But I think the tales of Bournemouth this season show you do need to change things up. You can't just stay with what works.
Exactly, and when we sacked Houghton, you had all his friends and all the old pundits on telly saying, "Why have they done this? He's done so
Yeah,
much for them." But yeah,
and he has. He has
yeah,
done.
he has. He's
And
done
he'll
so
probably go
much for us.
down. And I've got all respect for him. He's probably going to be the greatest manager in our history. But
However, there we wanted more. He was a not lose manager rather than try and win.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it keeps you in the league. I mean, we just about stayed up under him, and this has proved to be a progressive move.
Yeah.
Which you gotta give credit to the board for executing it.
Yeah, and we've done really well. A few good players have come in. I think Webster's come to a lot of stick this season, but he's actually played very, very well considering his first season in the Premier League, and he was thrown in starting 11. More played with 10 goals, which I think is fantastic for a player first in the Prem.
Aaron Conley's come through, big good.
Scored a couple here and there. I think his general play is contributes a lot more as well.
He's a nightmare. He's always moving. You might not see it on telly, but he always wants the ball in behind. He's always making runs.
And so he's always making runs. He's even making dummy runs.
He's a nuisance.
He's a nuisance. I like him. I'm not. Lots of people criticise him for lack of goals, and that's fair enough. He doesn't score enough goals, but
not had a consistent running team. You could argue.
No. And then I think Trossard's come in, done well. But I think we've got to clear out a lot of deadwood this summer.
And it's looking very promising. I think getting Lallana in, getting Weltman in.
Veltman.
Don't know much about Veltman, but his resume is good.
Yeah, that's better than anything. Although Kemi Austin's resume was also quite good. So,
well, he wasn't starting for the Dutch team, was he?
No, he wasn't.
And my Dutch friend Jens, your friend as well, highly approved.
He is my friend as well.
Highly approved of the signing. So, what more could you ask for? And we're not done. I'd like another centre mid, striker, and winger at least. But
I think looking at it, mate, I think for another centre mid to come in, I think one would have to leave.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough room for them all.
And,
who that would be, I don't know.
Stevens. But no.
Well, I'd have to disagree with you there.
But if you look at the actual squad we had for this season, I think we've done quite well to get the amount of goals we have. I mean, after the first couple of games, I think we had Glenn Murray, who's 36. We had Morpay, who's just come into the Prem. Andone fucked off. Locadia fucked off.
Yeah, both shit though, so not too much.
Well, it's still depth, isn't it?
Yeah, depth definitely.
And Andone wasn't shit to be
he
fair
was just
to him.
A liability.
He was just a bit of a head case, and I don't think Graham Potter liked his temperament.
No,
which seems to be the case.
Well, I didn't at times, to be honest. I think that Southampton game did it for him. But
nevertheless, we didn't have the greatest striking options, and
I think we've done very well to sort of wean ourselves off Glenn Murray as well, because, the first two seasons of Prem, we were just relying on Glenn Murray. Every single thing went
which
through
is
Glenn Murray.
which
Or
isn't
just no way to.
ideal.
No, considering he's 36 and at times he's looked poor this season.
Mm. His old legs are starting to show.
Yeah, and I
Have
think to
so.
sort of wean us off with two strikers who were very untested in the Premier League is quite impressive. To stop us relying on him. So, and we've got a lot of promise. It's a good transitional season. Just happy we stayed up. Really, that's
Yeah.
all I wanted. Had a great win on the final day. Started to show some of the real promise about our side when
Yeah.
we should have been more against Burnley. Really.
Once the pressure was off.
Yeah, this has always
Uh,
happened. Like when we drew with Arsenal last season, as soon as the pressure went off.
yeah.
So, but yeah, no, we've done very well. So, I'm happy with it.
Positives, satisfied but not happy, but
Yeah,
wanting more. But yeah,
I'm
kick on to
hungry
next
for
year.
more. That's
Yeah,
the difference.
that's-
Last season I wasn't hungry for more. I was like, oh god, have we got to go for another season? And
Yeah,
before Houston went,
there's
obviously,
excitement about
Yes.
where we
And
could be next
you know,
year.
with the signings of Lallana and Veltman to sort of kick things off very early on, early doors.
Yeah, one thing I love about Brighton is that we get our business done very early. So
Yeah, or we tried to anyway.
recently we
So,
tried to.
So now we just move on, get the next one in, move on. So all in all, down
And
to
then Brighton finishing above West Ham.
yeah. Now this is
Another weird one. That's going to be the phrase of this episode.
another weird one.
I mean, the
A team
squad
with
they've
about
got.
8 or 9 attacking midfielders. But they're always in a false position.
And still
They're
signed more in January.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, no, they're a good side. I think they're in a little bit of a false position when they're in a relegation zone because they're too good to be in that position.
Yeah, I mean, once
And their class showed.
Once they're at risk of actually, hold on, we might actually go down there. I mean, they got 8 points out of 12, so
yeah. You know, you look at those last few games and they did very well. But I think Brighton and West Ham, I always sort of thought at the back of my mind, they are too good a sides to go down.
Well,
and they've proved it.
Yeah, there's that, and you always feel like there was three worse teams in the league, which
especially Brighton and West Ham. I think they were quality sides. So they've done well, got to the position they needed to. Safe West Ham. You know, they've got some great players, but they need to get the best out of them for them to actually do anything. You know, Felipe Anderson looked fantastic in his first season, and this season he's looked gash. So, lovely word that is, gash.
I mean, got back David Moyes. I mean,
weird.
Can you tell me who he replaced? Pellegrini.
Manuel Pellegrini.
Yeah. Seems a lifetime. Seems so long ago.
But I think they've almost been so desperate to replace Payet all these years that they've just sort of brought in so many attacking midfielders who just haven't quite lived up to Payet, which in reality no one ever was going to, because he was probably one of their best players they've had.
It's probably signing of the decade.
Yeah,
easily.
It's fantastic. I think this is another controversial opinion. I think they'd be in a better place now if they'd just kept Bilic.
Yeah.
They'd never sacked Bilic. I think he was a bit of stability. It was in that first season at the new stadium where they'd all got a bit feral.
New stadium syndrome.
New stadium syndrome, which seemed to turn West Ham fans even angrier, and they started fighting each other.
Yeah, wanted to kill Sullivan. I think the Sullivan family haven't got the best history of making pragmatic decisions when it comes to football.
No, but the best thing that happened at West Ham was it that game against Burnley where it just all descended into chaos. They'd like 3 or 4 pitch invasions, and people kept on stealing the corner flag.
Yeah.
That guy stole the corner flag, put it in a stick. You had fans fight each other. Then loads of them congregated in front of the director's box, lobbing stuff at Golden Sullivan.
Yeah.
So that went a bit insane. It's quite funny, though.
yeah,
From a neutral perspective, it was hilarious to watch them implode like
yeah,
that. But yeah,
classic
they've
West
needed to.
Ham. I mean, you could look at to back the point up about Southampton keeping a manager.
Hmm,
I mean,
yeah,
if they just sacked him erratically, they could easily be in the relegation zone instead
yeah.
of
So
Bournemouth
I
or
think they should
Watford.
have kept Village. I know that sounds insane. It feels like they've been for about 5 or 6 managers since.
Hmm.
But I don't know, haven't. I think they've just had Moyes and Pellegrini. But
Moyes twice.
uh, yeah, Moyes twice. Yeah.
Banter.
But yeah, it just seems a bit of it. Yeah, I mean, no credit to Moyes for doing what he did with that squad.
No
Um,
credit.
no
Their
credit
their
to Moyes.
squad is just too good to be
Yeah,
anywhere near the relegation zone.
yeah.
I mean,
And they showed, and Antonio's a player I've always really liked, and he absolutely demolished the last few teams,
mm,
hasn't he?
yeah,
Norwich and
it's about time he
West
really
Ham,
kicked on though.
and I
He's
think
always been
Suchek is
phenomenal.
fantastic. I really like Suchek.
That's well, I mean, yeah, where they found him from,
Yeah, well,
absolutely fantastic.
Slava Prague
Yeah,
actually.
but they
Yeah,
have got good scouts. I mean, Diop, they found from relatively nowhere. I know he
yeah.
hasn't had
Although
the
he's
best
been a bit,
season, but
although looking at their defence, they
huge
conceded more than
potential.
8 more goals than us. So they're still a bit erratic defensively.
Mm, yeah, I
But
know. Speaking to our West Ham fan, he wants a whole new defence essentially.
yeah, our West Ham fan, as in Shane is a
Yeah, our resident West Ham fan wants
yeah.
me,
Um,
yeah,
you but yeah, yeah.
wants to
I
clear
think
out.
yeah,
I
I
think
would agree with that.
yeah, a
Get
lot of
rid of some of
teams
the
do need a clear
high,
out.
a lot of the hype players. They've had far too many of those.
Mm,
Where they brought them in for big fees, and they've just
mm.
sort of been like, yeah, really shown up to their 40
Yeah, like
million.
Haller. I mean, that
Been
Frankfurt
injured a
team
lot.
that's been picked apart,
Yeah, and they've
and
struggled this year
yeah,
as well. Um,
Haller banging in goals for Frankfurt
now,
and
now he's been very
not
knowingly
even getting
average.
in the team.
Well, no, but he has been injured, I think. Hold
Well,
me to that. But yeah,
he's been fit for the last couple, and Antonio's
yeah.
been starting up front.
But how could
So,
you drop Antonio?
well, you can't, can you? But
No, that 4 goal Norwich appearance.
all scrappy.
Yes.
Apart from the flick, I'll take it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, weird one, and we'll
Another weird one.
write it down as a one-off. And
I think a failure for them. They should be finishing higher.
oh yeah,
than
complete
that.
failure. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna blame the board on this one.
Yeah. I don't even
How
think
they
it's
got
blaming the
Moyes
board.
back in? Well, re-signing Moyes,
Yeah.
so weird. I mean, that is literally
Hmm.
no plan B. That's a backwards step. You want to progress.
Yeah.
I think, well, in a couple of cases, someone's been unfairly sacked, but
Yeah.
re-signing a failing manager is just
It's lunacy.
bizarre. Yeah. Which gets us on to Villa. Aston Villa.
Stayed up by the skin of their teeth.
I think before the season, they were tipped to be here or thereabouts.
Well, a lot of
I
their
think
fans flexing like they were going to get into Europe, but
well, yeah, that was never going to happen. I think
no.
their goal should have been to stay up, whether it was. So, yeah, put it down as a success.
Yeah. They've obviously
big
signed
JT and
Dean Smith. I think Dean Smith is the worst manager in this league, even including the teams which have gone down. So I think he's got quite lucky there. But I think they've spent so much money, and their kind of scattershot approach to transfers, where they've just signed over £150 million worth of players.
Well, you could argue that they sort of had to, but
it's not a surprise that they've sacked their general manager.
Is it?
With this week, because some of their signings have been awful. so many players like Samatta. Big hype about him, but he was up to
What's the
nothing.
matter?
Yeah, what's Samatta with you?
I only score one goal against City in the
Yeah,
Cup final.
yeah. So for that, and if obviously, I think a huge thing for them was Tom Heaton getting injured. Tom Heaton probably one of the best keepers outside top 6.
It's almost like they use Football Manager, selected not top 5 leagues, and
Yeah,
picked the bones from the rest of the teams in
yeah,
Europe to try and
yeah, because they just
shrewdly
sort of
build a team.
yeah. Tom Heaton was a big loss for them because he's a great goalkeeper,
Mm.
commands his area well. Huge part of the Burnley success of the last few years has been Pope and Heaton. So I think that was a big miss for them, and their form massively dipped off when Heaton.
Getting Pepe Reina in sort of picked
Pepe,
him up a bit.
a little bit, but he had his moments,
He's
and
not.
that's why he got dropped for the first game back. Well, they've essentially stayed up because of what's it not actually being turned on.
Hawkeye, yeah.
Hawkeye not actually being turned on.
It'd be interesting to see where that law claim goes. What's it called?
Bournemouth have talked about seeking compensation. I don't think they want to stay up, but I think they want money compensation for that.
But how much is it worth? I mean,
hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they've literally stayed up through sheer luck.
Would have loved it if they went down.
Yeah, not a fan of theirs. They've been poor side.
Heavily carried by one man.
Jack Grealish, fantastic player. I think he's a bit of a dick though.
Why?
Not his greatest fan. He's just a bit of a cocky little shit, isn't he? Very good player, and if he played for Brighton, I'd probably love him. But the fact is, he plays for an opposition team, so.
I think he's a big diver. Player. I hate his diving, but
and his diving isn't even subtle.
No, it's a touch, and he's
he's a great player.
Yeah, I think if Jack Grealish stays, it'll be a big shock. But if he goes, when he goes, they'll have a huge hole to fill. I mean,
you're
saying about the general manager being sacked.
I look at their side. I think Jack Grealish is obviously standout best player in that side. But I wouldn't take any other player in that side at Brighton. Just thinking about it now,
I'd take one.
Who would that be?
Maybe two. I think that
Trezeguet's half decent.
Douglas Luiz would do a job for us. John McGinn, I think, is quality.
Not a terrible player, but hasn't impressed me as much as I thought he would.
Yeah, and maybe Heaton.
Yeah, Heaton. Could kind of forget he's there, but Matty Ryan's as good as Heaton, so I wouldn't drop him.
That would be in case of him going. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a strange thing. They'll obviously have to get some good players in the summer. I just can't see who they bring in, and I don't think they can afford to have another approach where they bring in so many players again.
I mean, they've got a decent foundation. I think they could stay up with signing 2 or 3 decent players with the Grealish money.
Because they're just, their attitude to it is just buy as many as possible, and that isn't going to work again.
No.
So yeah, they've definitely got to spend wisely rather than widely this time.
Exactly. Yes. Then we're on to the teams that ultimately flops, but we've got Bournemouth relegation.
Yeah.
Bubbles burst a bit.
Yeah,
well, it has burst.
We've touched on it. Could happen to Burnley, but Eddie Howe just got old and stale, and his tactics can only, I think he just got worked out. The squad didn't change massively.
No, I mean, aside from Ake, I think it's the back 4 that got promoted 6 years ago.
Side didn't change massively, but it's an issue of goals for them. Because they've actually conceded less goals this season than they have in their previous 2. But they have scored 20 less.
Christ.
Than this season. or 30 less in some seasons. They've scored up to 70 goals. So I think that's where their issue lies. They just did not score enough this season. Attacking didn't work this season.
I mean, Wilson and
Yeah,
King, I believe, were out for periods.
yeah, and they had to bring in Dom Solanke, who is useless. But
Found form. I'm backing him to have a good season next year in the Championship.
well, my thing is, I would take him at Brighton. Now, that would open.
I'm sure I said this the other day and I got absolutely roasted.
Well, I got absolutely slaughtered for it. So I would take Solanke at Brighton because the only time Solanke has scored in his career has been in the England youth setup consistently. And who was technical director when he was in the England youth setup? Dan Ashworth. Who's technical director at Brighton? Dan Ashworth. If anybody's going to get the best out of Dom Solanke, it'll be at Brighton with Dan Ashworth.
Well, yes, but
For the right thing.
my reasoning is the fact that he felt like the best player on the pitch when he was playing youth football. He's playing against everyone his age.
Yeah.
He was the best player on the pitch, and he's sort of come up straight into Premier League. Bear in mind, he never really went on loan to anywhere.
No, at Liverpool, no.
He's been a Premier League player, so he's had the weight of the world on his shoulders straight from his professional career, and he's not been the best player in the team. I think the confidence that he carried that made him the player he was, it wasn't there. So, and I think in the last 5 games, he got his goal, and then suddenly, complete different player.
He looked good in the last two or three.
He sort of realised, well, all right, I can do it. And, I fully predict him to kick on from here.
Yeah, I would take him at Brighton for a fee of about 10 million. I don't think we'd get him for that. There's a rumour that Bournemouth haven't got relegation clauses in any of their players' contracts, which means that there could be an absolute fire sale to get the wages off the books. So that'd be interesting to see. I don't think we're going to see Bournemouth back in the Premier League, for at least 20 years.
Well, everything about the club is Championship.
Well, probably lower.
Yeah.
And you think they've been in the Premier League for what, 5 or 6 years?
I think 6 years.
Yeah.
2013 they went up, didn't they?
No, 2014-15 they went up. So yeah, this is their 5th season. The only reason I remember was because Jan Kergerman scored a banging
player
free
he
kick.
was. Yeah, I remember that.
Banging free kick
Under
at
the lights.
Yeah, under the lights. That basically meant they're promoted.
Yeah. Whatever happened to him? I know he went to Reading.
Well, he was about 35 when he was playing for Bournemouth.
Oh, was he?
Season.
Right.
I think he just retired very soon.
Probably.
But anyway,
aside from the topic.
Aside from the banging Jan Kergerman free kick.
Gone but never forgotten.
Gone but never forgotten, yes. Forever in a heart.
Why are we praising him? He scored against us.
Yeah, I know, but it was a great goal and I was a big fan of his. But, they've come up and 5 seasons, they've got nothing to show for it. Training ground's the same. They haven't really kicked on with youth. That Sam Surridge looks all right, but, he's not Premier League quality or knocking on the door of the Premier League. Well, he played a few games, but
he did have 2 of the best bottom half strikers in front of him. So I thought he looked very good against Southampton when he came on.
And then he obviously scored the goal that never was, which would have kept them up, ironically.
A lot of players in their team would benefit from a season in Championship.
Yeah, a lot of the younger players.
Yeah, younger players.
Even players like Lloyd Kelly, centre back, banging long throw he's got.
Cook's probably past it, so could do dropping down. Fullbacks would be very good in the Championship.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think they've just got nothing to show for their Premier League time because they've just invested in their playing squad, and them going down. I don't think we'll see them come back for a while because they're gonna realise the harsh reality of the Championship is that just keeping your squad together doesn't necessarily guarantee promotion. Because you look at Stoke, who kept Butland and Allen and lots of the players that were in the Premier League with them, and they've struggled both years to stay up.
I
So
think
what?
the saving grace is that they have got good, expensive players in their team. I
Yeah,
mean, 40 million for Ake is huge.
yeah,
That
um,
could go a long way in the Championship. I think King and Wilson
yeah,
are worth a pretty penny. I think Stanislas, based on previous form in the last couple of games, he's looked good. Ramsdale, I mean,
yeah.
one of the best young players in the Prem.
Young keepers. A
Yeah.
lot of clubs will obviously be looking at him in the top bottom half of the Premier League, thinking,
So,
"Oh, be all right."
depending on how they
Yeah,
play the transfer window.
I don't think we'll see them back in the Premier
Oh
League
no,
for a
no,
long
I
time.
don't. But I don't think it's double
All I'd say to the
relegation.
Bournemouth fans: don't cry because it's over. Cry because it happened.
Be
Because you're
happy because it
punching.
happened.
Yeah, um, yeah.
You're
Sorry, yeah.
punching as it was. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're punching massively to be in
You
the
were
position you were,
Jason.
and that's not to slag you off, but that it is a little bit. It is a little bit to slag you off because you have pissed me off quite a lot over the
Deep
years.
down,
Yeah.
this comes from their Russian owners.
Yes, because
Lewis Dunk.
they failed financial fair play when they came out of the Championship, and you know they've spent money, and we get lots of plucky little Bournemouth who spent 40 million on players. So for me, it's not the plucky little Bournemouth tale for that reason. But they've punched, and they'll probably go back to League One eventually. So
The fact that no Eddie Howe could either be a good thing or a bad thing.
yeah, I think they should have kept Eddie Howe if they'd gone
I
down
think
and
that
sacked him.
was a
Sacked
reason
him if
why.
they stayed. Sacked him if they stayed up. Actually,
I think he
which
was
is
a
a
lot
weird one.
of the reason why certain players were at the club.
Yeah.
But
So yeah.
anyway, Bournemouth are down. Watford are down.
Now on to the biggest basket case club.
This is a meme.
Yeah, like
4 managers.
what on earth were they thinking when they sacked when they sacked Pearson? It just didn't make any sense whatsoever.
I don't know if anything's come out in the news about him booting
No,
off.
I mean he is mental, so I can see that he might have maimed someone on the training ground maybe, but it's just from an outsider perspective, it is just mental.
Yeah.
They would not have lost 4-0 to Man City.
5-0.
5-0. No, they lost 4-0, didn't they? They lost. We'll say they lost
4-0.
4-5.
I said
4-0. Yeah,
I said
you said
4-0.
4-0.
Either
4
way.
to 5-0.
Either
Yeah,
way.
they would have lost 1-0 to Man City. They would have made it really tight if they'd been under Pearson. And you look at the position they were in when Pearson took over. They were 9 points. 9 points off safety.
Yeah. They were unlucky not to get a point at Arsenal as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they had about a million
But
chances.
the game was lost with their weak defensive first half performance, so
yeah,
which wouldn't have happened under Pearson.
No, and they just barrel rolled. They had such a terrible start. They had a good middle. And they just ended it by shooting it. But you look at their form, and their form is they got 2 wins, and then they lost 3. It just completely screwed them over. They beat Newcastle, and they must have thought, right, we're up now, we're safe. And I did.
Yeah.
Villa did win a couple and draw a couple, unbeaten in the last 4. But I don't know. It's just crazy decision, crazy. But that they're a team that've gone very stale.
Yeah, I think a lot of egos in that squad, a lot of
Troy
individual.
Deeney's still their talisman 5 years on for being promoted.
Yeah.
But it's weird, actually, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, I am correct, the squad there, the 3 that went up there, were the same 3 that went up in the exact same order in the 2014-15 season for the Championship. Bournemouth won the title, Watford came second, and Norwich went up in the playoffs.
Yep.
Which is strange. But, it's sort of said, I think it says a lot about
a big loop.
not Norwich. not so much about them, but about Bournemouth and Watford, also suffered from the same issue. Stagnated within the 5 years they're in the Prem. Exact same thing. Obviously, there's something to do with the Pozzos at Watford, the owners, and that seems like a dynamic which might not last forever. Um, so yeah, it's a strange, not a weird one. It's been an expected one. I've called Watford to go down almost every season for the last, all seasons. Brighton being in the Prem and being like, oh, I think Watford will be down.
It's
And this season they
ownership
just
issues for Watford for me. I mean, I
yeah
can see them becoming a Charlton or a
yeah
Sunderland.
I can see investment disappearing fairly
I
quickly if it
can
all
see a
goes.
lot of their squad flocking. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no
and they've
way.
obviously got Udinese, who is their home club, the Pozzo family. Who, if Watford fade away, it'll become a farm club for Udinese.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. I
so
mean, looking
yeah,
at their squad, I mean, Delafeu,
hmm
Sarr, Pereira, Hughes. I mean, their squad's massive. Decore,
mm.
of course.
I always used to think they were like it was like a team. If you went on Football Manager 10 years in the future, and it's all just full of made up random players. They're all just like
Regens.
Football Manager regens every single season.
Yeah, but yeah, I think they'll
Mm.
struggle next year.
I'd take Sarr or Delafeu though.
I think Brighton even put in a bid for Delafeu.
Yeah,
I
I
heard.
would.
Whether that's true or not.
If it was from the Twitter account Michael Usted, it's not true.
I don't know
Because
where.
Michael Usted has been notorious, and it's clearly just someone from Brighton Football Twitter running it. And then another one that was called Joe King.
Is that Tom?
Yeah, no, well, childish, but quite funny because it rattles quite a lot of people. So yeah, so they're down. I think it'll be a long time before we see them again.
Mm. And finally, Norwich.
Well, the long old slog, and we finally got to Norwich City.
Fought hard.
Norwich. Actually, YouTube algorithm is suggesting the Norwich City YouTube channel, which I'd highly recommend because it's actually a very good YouTube channel. Very interesting. But obviously spoken a lot about Norwich. I just didn't understand their mindset going into the season because I didn't know about this at the time, but I'm just learning about it now. Their head of football said there was a 95% chance they'd get relegated before the season had even begun. So how are you meant to tell your players to motivate themselves when there's a 95% chance of getting relegated?
It's just Moneyball football.
Yeah, and it's sort of, Fox obviously wants to keep to his beliefs, but it's not possible in the Premier League. To play like he is with the fullbacks, especially when they played Brighton. The fullbacks were so far up the pitch. Aaron Moy was just waiting for the ball to come to his foot to get him behind.
To say it's not possible is not completely true, but with that squad, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, Man City have
I
won the league.
think the way they did play, though, it was impossible because with that squad, because you look at our squad, we played good football, but there was still a solid defensive foundation in Norwich's side. The way they played, there was no solid defensive foundation. You look at that, 75 goals minus 49 goal difference. It says it all, really.
Yeah, I mean,
the fullbacks are pushing basically to the halfway line. And
I think, yeah,
yeah,
the fact that they were so what's the word?
gung-ho.
No, so what's the word? Stubborn about signing new players. I think that cost them massively. I mean,
I think they signed a lot of crap.
Yeah, but you could have looked at their squad in January and thought, well, yeah, our young defenders have had a good season, but maybe getting an experienced centre back, maybe a full back, to try and shore things up.
Yeah, and I think their young players are good, but there's no way you can't be playing a high press with your fullbacks on the halfway line against the likes of
Liverpool.
They beat I think the Man City game hoodwinked a lot of people to think that they were any good because that was a fluke. Well, it wasn't a fluke result. They played well, but and then you're playing against Brighton with players who are tactically more clever than 20-year-old fullbacks who are standing on the halfway line.
I mean, they always say the lower teams always get one win against the big sides
Yeah,
this season, and
yeah,
that was just theirs. I mean,
yeah. And I just think he was so naive the way he bounced it. And then he just
mm,
did this stupid thing where, towards the end, obviously Pookie started like a firestorm,
mm,
but and same with Cantwell as well. And then they obviously tailed off. But the game against Brighton, where they dropped their two best players, there's still a player in there somewhere. And if they're devoid of confidence, you don't
mm.
just drop them and leave them on the bench for what is the potentially the last game, last
Well,
chance you
yeah,
have to stay
that
up.
if they had won against us, that could have maybe really,
They would have been 3 points off um, top of the relegation zone, and they would have been right in the hunt for it.
yeah,
They-
that could have been a
And,
turning point.
and they had winnable games. They had West Ham, they had Watford, and they could pick up a few points here and there, and they could have done so much better. But
Mm,
it wasn't to be. They've lost every single game since the restart,
yeah.
I believe. So
So stop crying, Jake Humphries.
yeah, well, quite.
Oh my
I
god,
mean, I
I'm
thought
sorry.
already.
I'm getting a phone call.
Who is it?
Just Olivia. Let me just update you. So yeah, stop crying at Jake Humphrey.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think start of season they weren't really trying to stay up. I think
Yeah.
they were looking for parachute payments. To be
Mm.
honest, I think they'll kick on from next year. You look at the other two teams that went down. I think they've got the best chance out of the three at coming back up.
I don't know. I think Norwich do. I think keep that style, keep the manager.
I
Just
said
sort of.
Norwich.
Oh, said Norwich.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. Out of
Apologise.
the three,
Yeah,
Norwich for
they
me.
put. Yeah, I think they could come straight back up if they invest well. They've already made a few good signings, obviously all from European clubs.
Have
Yeah, they've made a couple of interesting signings, intriguing ones. Who obviously are.
And
Um,
especially a manager like that, who has probably very much got his ear to the wall when it comes to German football.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see what they do next season. Whether they do, but then whether a lot of their players who come back down with them, they'll look at that, and there are players who played well in the Championship and never really got a chance in the Premier. And whether they'll look at that and go, "Well, you only really want me for the Championship. If I try to play my best and I go up, I'm not going to get a chance when I get to the Prem."
yeah.
So
But
yeah,
well, that's football.
yeah,
I think,
that is football.
I think a player that performs very well in a championship would always be worth. What am I trying to say? If a player's thinking, "Oh, I'm only ready for the championship," then what's the point?
Yeah,
If they play well enough, then they're worth a go in the Prem.
yeah.
So
Indeed.
yeah, the motivation will always be there for a footballer.
Yeah, for a player. And that's it.
Yeah,
The
we're
Prem.
done.
Seemed like a long old slog that did.
Yeah, 1 hour 50 minutes,
1 hour 50. Wow.
give or take 10 minutes.
Definitely need to put timestamps on that for each
Yeah.
club.
So yeah, if you're somehow listening still, or if
Yeah.
you just skipped to your team,
Yeah.
thank you for getting this far.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed. Let us know what your thoughts were about our opinions on your club,
Yeah.
if we mention your club.
If
And
it's complete shit, just,
any
abuse us.
yeah, honest opinions. I mean,
If you think my haircut's been shit recently, I'll take that abuse as well.
I've got blonde hair.
And, yeah, if you think Andy's hair is shit as well, like
Mustard.
give him, yeah.
Just
just
let us
abuse them.
know.
Yeah,
We'll take any comment, whether it's abuse
Yeah.
or positive.
yeah. Even if it's just from a burner account Tom's made.
Yeah.
So
I mean, fair
Yeah.
play if he's got this far and made a burn
Yeah, yeah.
account.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, any final words, Jack?
No,
Up the
not
album.
really. I've enjoyed Up the Albion. I've enjoyed
the
this season. It's been a weird one.
Yeah, I mean,
On
yeah.
to the next one.
Weird
It looked
one.
like from a week ago when we thought fans might go back to there being no fans again.
Well, it's got to be done, isn't it?
We've got to watch it. Football is what we all love.
The Rona is coming back.
Rona.
Go to the pubs. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed this podcast, episode 3 of the Tiki Chatter. Thank you for listening, and adios. Player of the week. Player of the week.
Player of the week. Connolly.
Aaron Connolly. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Adios.
Ciao, Benny.